The freezing wind cut through his worn-out jacket as 17-year-old Marcus stood outside a small corner store in the heart of the city. His stomach growled, desperate for something to eat. He hadn't eaten in days, too proud to ask for help, too embarrassed to beg. His hands shook as he pulled them out of his pockets, revealing the only possession he had left in this world: a pair of old, cracked shoes. They were more than just shoes to him. They were the last remnants of his dignity. But hunger, the kind that gnaws at your insides until you can't think straight, was a force stronger than pride. Without hesitation, Marcus walked into the store. He knew he didn't have enough for anything substantial, but maybe, just maybe, he could scrape together enough to get something small. Something to keep him going for another day. He laid his shoes down on the counter. "How much for some bread?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. The cashier glanced at his shoes and then at his face, clearly judging. "Those shoes? You're not going to get much for them," she said, but she rang up his purchase anyway. With a loaf of bread in hand, Marcus walked out into the street, his heart heavy. It felt like one step forward, 2 steps back until he heard a voice. "Hey kid, you look like you could use a hand." Marcus turned, surprised to find a well-dressed man standing there. His name was James, and he had seen something in Marcus that others overlooked. They started talking, and what was supposed to be a simple conversation turned into an invitation. A simple question, "What's your dream?" led to a life-changing offer. James, it turned out, was not just any businessman. He was a billionaire, and after hearing Marcus's story, he offered him something unbelievable, a chance to escape the streets. It wasn't just a job. It was a chance to turn his life around completely. A week later, Marcus found himself stepping onto a private jet, heading to a business conference with James. The kind of jet he had only seen in movies, the kind of life he thought he'd never touch. But here he was, a homeless teen who sold his only pair of shoes, now seated next to the man who changed everything. It was a journey that began with desperation and ended with opportunity. Marcus's story is a reminder that sometimes you have to lose everything to gain what you've always needed. And in the most unexpected of places, change can find you, even when you've given up hope.